Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive that takes us 1,000 years into the future. Life in the year 3024. Buckle up, because we're going to be talking about some pretty mind-blowing stuff. We're diving deep into some fascinating sources to try to paint a picture of what life might look like.
It's going to be a wild ride.
That's for sure. We're going to cover everything from cities of the future to space travel to the rise of super intelligent AI.
Or even going to explore how humans themselves might evolve.
Exactly. So, to kick things off, let's talk about cities. I've always been fascinated by the idea of futuristic
Me
cities.
too. And our sources suggest some pretty incredible
Like
possibilities.
what? Give us a sneak peek.
Well, they talk about cities that are practically self-aware, thanks to nanotechnology. Imagine buildings that can repair themselves.
Self-aware cities. Whoa, okay, you've got my attention. I mean, I've always kind of wondered if we'd eventually reach a point where buildings could maintain and repair themselves, almost like a living organism. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
exactly like a living organism. And our sources point to the self-healing materials that are being developed today as a sign of what's to come.
So they're saying that in 1,000 years, those materials could be so advanced that entire structures could, adapt and regenerate.
Precisely. It's like taking the concept of a smart home to a whole new level, a whole city that's basically a giant interconnected self-healing organism.
So picture this, a city that constantly adapts to its environment. It fixes cracks, optimizes energy usage, maybe even changes its layout based on the needs of its inhabitants.
Right. It's a city that's constantly evolving, learning, and improving.
It's almost like the city itself becomes a collaborative partner, helping us to live more sustainably and efficiently.
Exactly. And speaking of sustainability, our sources also suggest that we could see entirely new types of cities emerging.
Like what?
Well, for one, imagine floating megacities designed to address overcrowding and resource scarcity.
Wait, floating cities? Are we talking about massive structures suspended in the air, kind of like self-contained islands in the sky? You got it. And think about the possibilities. You could have vertical farms integrated into the city's design, renewable energy sources like solar and wind power, harnessed directly from the atmosphere.
It's like a completely self-sufficient ecosystem floating above the earth.
Exactly. It's a fascinating solution to some of the challenges that we're facing today.
It makes you wonder if we're already seeing the seeds of these ideas in things like vertical farms and sustainable building practices.
Yeah, you could say that. It's all about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
But what about the oceans? Do our sources mention anything about underwater cities?
They do.
Really?
Think about it. We've already explored the deepest parts of the ocean. Building habitats down there could be a way to deal with rising sea levels or even just expand our living space.
I mean, I can see the appeal in a way. Living under the sea would be, well, it would be pretty incredible, wouldn't it? But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of attached to sunlight.
Yeah, I hear you. But think about the possibilities. Entire cities illuminated by bioluminescent organisms, vast underwater farms, and new forms of marine transportation. It's a whole new frontier for exploration and innovation.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction. But what kind of technologies would even make something like that possible?
Our sources talk about advancements in underwater construction, pressure-resistant materials, and even the creation of artificial ecosystems to sustain life beneath the waves.
Wow, that's incredible. It's almost like building a mini Earth down there. But okay, let's say we've got these amazing futuristic cities, whether they're floating in the sky or submerged beneath the waves. How do we even get around? I mean, do our sources mention anything about transportation in the year 3024?
You bet. And get this, they suggest that streets as we know them might disappear entirely.
Wait, no more streets. How does that even work?
Instead of cars and buses, imagine anti-gravity vehicles or super-fast transportation systems integrated into the city's structure. It's like those maglev trains we have today, but dialed up to 11.
Okay, so instead of traffic jams, we'd have these sleek, silent pods zipping us through the air. I can get on board with that.
And think about the space that opens up if we don't need roads anymore. More parks, green spaces, maybe even entire buildings dedicated to art and culture.
It's a vision of a city that prioritizes efficiency, sustainability, and the well-being of its inhabitants. I like it.
But beyond these physical changes, our sources also suggest the rise of virtual reality cities.
Virtual reality cities. Okay, now we're really getting futuristic. What does that even mean?
Imagine a world where location becomes irrelevant, because we can interact in incredibly realistic digital spaces.
So we're talking about a future where people might work, socialize, even attend events, all within a virtual environment. That's wild.
It is, and it raises a whole bunch of questions about the future of community, belonging, and even the nature of reality itself.
What happens to the physical world if our lives increasingly shift online?
Right. And how do we create meaningful connections and a sense of shared experience in these virtual spaces? These are all questions that we'll need to grapple with as we move further into the 21st century and beyond.
It makes you wonder if, in a sense, our digital identities could become as important as our physical locations. But all this talk of futuristic cities makes me think about something else. Space exploration. Will we still be bound to Earth in the year 3024?
Well, according to our sources, we might be venturing a bit further afield.
Like how much further? Interstellar travel, alien encounters, give me the good stuff.
Well, our sources suggest that Mars could be well on its way to becoming a full-fledged colony by then.
Mars colonies. That's amazing. I've always been fascinated by the idea of humans setting foot on another planet and establishing a permanent presence. But let's be real for a second. Mars isn't exactly the most hospitable place.
You're not wrong. That's where terraforming comes in. Our sources suggest that future civilizations might develop technologies to, get this, transform entire planets, making them suitable for human life, like turning Mars into a lush world with oceans and forests.
Terraforming. That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie. But how realistic is that really?
You'd be surprised. The principles behind terraforming are actually based on science. Think about it.
Yeah.
We're already learning how to manipulate ecosystems here on Earth, though obviously on a much smaller scale. Our sources suggest that with 1,000 years of technological advancement, we could potentially scale those efforts up to planetary levels.
It's amazing to think about transforming barren planets into vibrant ecosystems. It raises some ethical questions too, of course, like, do we have the right to completely alter another planet's environment? But, okay, putting that aside for a moment, what about traveling even further? Interstellar travel? Reaching other star systems? Is that even on the table?
Our sources mention some pretty mind-blowing possibilities. They talk about things like light sails propelled by photons from the sun, antimatter engines that harness the power of matter-antimatter annihilation. It all sounds pretty fantastical, but the science behind it is real.
So we're talking about technologies that could potentially allow us to travel at a significant fraction of the speed of light.
That's the idea. Of course, there are still huge engineering challenges to overcome, but the theoretical possibilities are incredible.
It's mind-blowing to think about. And if we're zipping around the galaxy, what are the chances we might bump into some other intelligent life forms out there? Alien encounters. That's a thought that's both exhilarating and terrifying.
Well, it's one of the biggest unknowns, isn't it? Are we alone in the universe? And if not, what would those encounters be like?
Right. Would it be peaceful exchanges of knowledge and culture?
What?
Or something a little more intense?
Well, I guess that depends on who we meet. But thinking about those possibilities forces us to confront our own assumptions about intelligence, culture, and even the very nature of existence. It's a humbling and awe-inspiring thought.
Definitely. It makes you realize just how much we don't know about the universe and our place in it. But, you know, thinking about alien encounters reminds me of another topic that's both fascinating and a little bit scary. The future of artificial intelligence.
Oh yeah, AI. Now there's a topic that's sure to get people talking.
What do our sources say about how AI might evolve in the next 1,000 years? I'm ready for some mind-blowing predictions.
Well, buckle up, because it gets pretty wild. Our sources suggest that within the next millennium, artificial intelligence could reach a level of sophistication that surpasses human intelligence by a significant margin. We're talking about superintelligent AI.
Superintelligent AI. Okay, now I'm officially both excited and a little bit terrified. But think about the potential. If machines can think and learn at that level, could they help us solve some of humanity's biggest challenges? Disease, poverty, climate change. Could superintelligent AI be the key?
That's certainly one possibility. Imagine a world where machines can analyze data and develop solutions far beyond our current capabilities.
That's an amazing thought.
It is, but
But there's always a but, right?
yeah.
What are the potential downsides to creating something that could potentially outthink us?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we ensure that superintelligent AI remains aligned with human values and goals? How do we prevent unintended consequences? These are questions that we need to start grappling with today, not 1,000 years from now.
It makes you think about all those science fiction stories where AI becomes self-aware and decides humans are no longer necessary. Do our sources offer any insights into how we might mitigate those risks? What kind of safeguards could we put in place?
Well, there's no easy answer to that question. Our sources suggest a variety of approaches. from ethical programming to something called AI alignment research, where the focus is on ensuring that AI's goals are aligned with our own. It's a complex problem with no easy solutions, but it's a conversation we need to be having.
Right, because once we create something smarter than us, there's no guarantee we can control it. It's a little daunting to think about, but also incredibly exciting. I mean, we're talking about the potential to reshape the world as we know it. But hey, maybe it won't be all doom and gloom. Our sources mention some pretty wild possibilities, like AI merging with human consciousness. Imagine being able to upload your thoughts, communicate telepathically, basically becoming one with the machine. Would you want that?
It's a question that pushes us to the very limits of what it means to be human. Would we still be ourselves if our minds were intertwined with artificial intelligence? Would we lose something essential in the process?
Those are some deep philosophical questions. It all comes down to whether we see this kind of merging as an evolution or a dissolution of what makes us human. But you know what? I think we need to take a step back and consider the bigger picture here. We've covered a lot of ground already, and it's clear that the future holds some incredible possibilities as well as some very real challenges.
I agree. And I think it's important to remember that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create through our choices, our actions, and our collective imagination.
Well said. But we've only just scratched the surface of what the future might hold. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how all of these advancements might change us as a species. Think genetic engineering, cybernetics, the whole transhumanist movement. It's going to be a wild ride.
Absolutely. We're just getting started.
Wow, that last segment really got my wheels turning, thinking about super intelligent AI and all. But you know what else is a total trip to think about? How humans themselves might actually, evolve.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it? I mean, we've
Yeah.
always adapted and changed over time.
Right, exactly. But now we're at this point where we could actually, direct our own evolution with technology, right? I mean, that's kind of what our sources are pointing to, yeah.
It really is. And I think one of the most exciting and potentially, controversial areas is genetic engineering.
Genetic engineering. Okay, so instead of natural selection, we're talking about, technological selection. I can barely even wrap my head around that. But, where do we even start with something that big?
Well, our sources suggest that in the future, genetic engineering could be pretty commonplace, allowing us to, manipulate our genes.
Manipulate our genes to do what?
Well, for one thing, to eliminate diseases.
Hmm.
Imagine a world without cancer or Alzheimer's.
Whoa. Okay, now you're talking. That's incredible. But hold on. I know there are tons of ethical debates about, messing with our genes. Do our sources address any of that?
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. They acknowledge those concerns, of course.
Yeah.
But they also point out that genetic engineering could have huge implications for, public health. It's complicated, to say the least.
It makes you wonder where we draw the line, if we can eliminate genetic diseases, what's stopping us from, I don't know, enhancing intelligence or physical abilities? Would that be messing with natural selection too much?
It's a slippery slope, for sure. And our sources talk about the need for really careful regulation to make sure this technology doesn't, create a whole new kind of inequality.
Right, like a world where only the rich and powerful can afford to enhance their kids, That's scary.
Absolutely. And it's not just about genetic engineering. There's another area that's equally mind-blowing, cybernetics.
Cybernetics. Okay, now we're talking merging our bodies with machines. This is where it starts to feel like a sci-fi movie. But hold on, I know there's some incredible research going on right now with, prosthetics and brain-computer interfaces.
Exactly. Now imagine that, 1,000 years in the future. Our sources suggest that cybernetics could allow us to, directly interface with technology.
Interface with technology.
Yeah. Enhance our physical abilities, and even, get this, achieve a form of immortality.
Wait, immortality through cybernetics? How's that even possible?
Well, one possibility is that we might be able to, transfer our consciousness into a non-biological substrate.
A non-biological what?
Basically becoming digital beings. It sounds pretty wild, but it's something that futurists and transhumanists are actually exploring.
Transhumanists, that's a word I've heard, but I'm not sure I totally get it.
Yeah, so transhumanism is a movement that basically advocates for using technology to enhance human capabilities,
Yeah.
or overcoming our biological limitations. It's the idea that we can use technology to transcend our current form and evolve into something, well, more.
So it's like saying humans are cool, but we could be even cooler.
Exactly. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible, exploring the full potential of human evolution.
But doesn't all of this raise some huge questions about, like, what it means to be human? I mean, if we're constantly upgrading ourselves, merging with technology, where's the line between human and machine? Does that line even exist anymore?
Those are some of the big questions that transhumanism grapples with. Like, if we can enhance our intelligence, our bodies, our lifespans, are we even the same species anymore? What does it even mean to be human in that kind of world?
It's a total mind trip. And kind of scary, to be honest.
Definitely. But it's also incredibly exciting. Imagine a future where we can, like, seamlessly integrate with technology, augment our senses, connect our minds in ways we can't even imagine right now.
Okay, now that is exciting. It's like we're on the verge of a whole new era of human evolution. Like, we're not just evolving naturally anymore, we're driving our own evolution with technology.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that the future isn't set in stone. It's a landscape of possibilities that's shaped by the choices we make today.
So, in a way, we're all kind of participating in this grand experiment, figuring out what it means to be human in a world of rapidly advancing technology.
Absolutely. And it's important to make sure that these technologies are accessible to everyone, not just a select few.
Otherwise, you end up with a society where, like, the enhanced have a huge advantage over everyone else. It's like a real-life dystopian sci-fi movie.
Exactly. We need to think carefully about the ethical implications of these technologies and make sure they're used to benefit all of humanity.
Well said. And that brings up another important point, right? All the risks and unintended consequences that come with these technologies. I mean, we talked about ethical concerns with genetic engineering, but what about cybernetics? Like, what if people can be hacked or controlled through their implants?
That's definitely a possibility we need to consider. Our sources talk about developing strong security measures and ethical guidelines for these technologies.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. We need to foster a sense of responsibility and awareness, make sure people understand the potential risks and benefits of these advancements.
It's like we need a whole new kind of digital literacy for the age of human enhancement. But, okay, we've talked a lot about how technology might transform us as individuals, but what about the future of civilization itself? What do our sources say about the long-term prospects for humanity?
Well, get ready for things to get really cosmic, because now we're going to explore the fate of civilization and the universe.
All right, bring on the cosmic perspective. We've talked cities, space travel, AI, even how humans themselves might evolve. Now let's zoom out, way out. The whole shebang, the fate of civilization itself and the universe. Big picture time. What our sources say about what's in store for humanity, like the next 1,000 years?
Well, I got to be honest, it's a mixed bag. Like, they talk about all the big threats, climate change, running out of resources, pandemics, even asteroid impacts like the dinosaurs, stuff that could wipe us out, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy stuff. Makes you think. We get all caught up in the cool possibilities, but there's some serious danger out there, too. But I gotta wonder, what about future civilizations? They're not just gonna sit around and wait for disaster to strike, are they?
That's where it gets interesting. Our sources, they say future societies could have some crazy advanced technology to, like, fight back against these threats.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay, so imagine, like, planetary defense systems, to knock asteroids off course,
Hmm.
or climate engineering to, like, control the weather and stuff. They even talk about giant space habitats, just in case Earth gets too messed up to live on.
Whoa, that's some serious sci-fi stuff. Planetary shields, space arcs, the whole 9 yards. But it kind of makes you wonder, are we even capable of thinking that far ahead? Like, we're having trouble dealing with climate change now, and that's just one problem.
True, true. But our sources, they seem to think that to survive, humanity's got to make a big change in how we think. Less me now, and more about the whole planet, the long haul.
So it's not just about fancy technology, it's about changing our values too. Thinking more about like our place in the universe and all that.
Exactly. Recognizing that we're all connected. And we've got to be responsible for future generations too, right?
Right, right. But hey, enough doom and gloom. What about the fun stuff? Our cosmic destiny, good addition. Any mind-blowing discoveries or like crazy advancements? Lay it on me.
Oh, there's plenty of that. Get ready for this. They talk about figuring out dark matter, and dark energy. Understanding how the universe began. They even mention parallel universes, like other dimensions.
What a parallel universes. That's like my jam. The thought that there could be other versions of me out there somewhere living totally different lives. Mind-blowing. But do our sources say how we even get to these other universes? Or is that still just like a theory?
Mostly theory, yeah. But they do mention some wild ideas like using wormholes, those things from sci-fi, or maybe even creating artificial black holes to make, like, portals to these other realms. Sounds crazy, right?
Yeah. Crazy awesome. It just shows you how far human curiosity can go.
Hmm.
We want to understand it all, the whole universe, even other universes.
Totally. And it's not just about the physical stuff. Our sources talk about how exploring the universe could lead to, like, some deep philosophical and spiritual discoveries, too.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like changing how we think about consciousness and reality and all that. Deep stuff.
They suggest future civilizations might think about those things in ways we can't even imagine right now. Like, what we understand now is just the tip of the iceberg.
It's both exciting and kind of scary, right? Like, what happens to all our beliefs and values if we discover something that just blows everything we thought we knew out of the water?
That's the thing about exploration, right? Got to be ready to question everything, embrace the unknown. Who knows what we might find?
I'm ready. But as we wrap up this whole deep dive, I keep thinking, what's the point of it all? Like, what's the big takeaway from all these amazing possibilities, all the risks and challenges?
I think it's about realizing that the future isn't some fixed thing. We're not just along for the ride. We create the future with the choices we make, what we do, even how we imagine it.
So we've got the power to shape the world, but that comes with responsibility, too.
Exactly. It's about owning that power, using it to build a future that we actually want to live in, one that reflects the best of humanity.
I love that. It's a message of hope. We're not just helpless, we can actually make a difference. Wow, this whole deep dive has been incredible. It's sad to see it end, but I'm feeling so inspired, hopeful about what the future holds.
Me too. And it's just a glimpse, really. There's so much more to explore, so many questions to ask.
So, to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, keep imagining the world you want to create. Thanks for coming along on this journey with us. And until next time, keep looking up.